This story happened at Isabel's workplace. Isabel worked part-time at a convenience store about 3 days a week. She is relied on by her coworkers and the store manager. For some reason, there was one person who was jealous of her. She was a queen bee who had the longest career in the store. She often drives Isabel hard and is always sarcastic with her. One day, when Isabel came to work, the office was noisy somehow. The queen bee was lecturing the girl with a raised voice. When Isabel asked about the situation, the queen bee said she caught a shoplifter. Moreover, the queen bee assumed that the girl was Isabel's daughter. Isabel was puzzled by this. Why was the queen bee so sure the shoplifter was Isabel's daughter? And how will this end?
I work part-time at a local convenience store about 3 days a week. I get along well with my coworkers and it's easy to work with them. And I know that the manager relies on me a lot. Even though I'm a convenience store clerk, it's rewarding. But there is one person in such a nice workplace who's very troublesome. She's the so-called queen bee, who has been working the longest. Today I want you to listen about her. I've been working for about a year now, but from the very beginning I knew she was the queen bee. She was more bossy than other co-workers, and the way she talks or her attitude were completely different. But she plays the hypocrite in front of the manager. I would say she's cunning. We have a flexible work schedule and no one else has a title and we're all equal. But the queen bee seems to think that she is the leader. She is a control freak and likes to oversee people. When she gets angry, she makes up a story and tells the manager so no one can talk back to her. Well, I'm one of them. In fact, I hear that store managers would get replaced, and the queen bee has been working longer than the current manager. Because of that, I don't think the manager can say anything to the queen bee. Besides, the manager seems to think work can be done smoothly if he lets her do as she wants. Everyone works so hard when she's around. Young kids don't like trouble, but part-timers hate trouble, right? Because it's hard to find another job. So we part-timers don't talk back to the queen bee, so work will be done. She annoys us, but we don't want to make it any worse than it is now. However, I don't know why she's so hard on me among the part-timers. She told me this before. You better not get cocky just because everyone relies on you. Behind your back, there are bad-mouthing you, so you should just believe what I say. The manager seems to be relying on you somehow, but that's only because you're an easy person to deal with. He doesn't expect anything from you, so don't misunderstand. By the way, I never got cocky or misunderstood that I was expected. But I think I was an eyesore to her, so she made sarcastic comments on and on. I didn't want to get in trouble, so I listened to her. But the queen bee wasn't happy with my attitude, and she asked me, "Will you cover my shift next week?" I'd like to go on a trip, but it's for short notice, so I'm looking for someone to fill in for me. But would you cover for me, right? I know you've covered for Alice before. You're reliable, so this time you can cover for me, right? She was so pushy and talked to me like that. I could cover for Alice because I was available, but I was not a yes man, so I declined her proposal. I said to her, "I'm sorry, but I have plans next week too." Then she became furious and, Are you picky or what? You would cover for everyone but me? You play the hypocrite, but you're actually mean. If you don't cover for me, I'll tell everyone what you really are. Are you okay with that? She was talking on and on. I got scared of her, and in the end I said I would cover for her. I still regret that, but I was scared of not knowing what she was going to do to me. I told everyone about her. And the same thing happened before, and someone reported it to the store manager. And at that time, the manager seemed to have given the queen bee a warning, but the person who reported it was bullied more by her, and she ended up quitting. I shuddered when I heard it. Because of that reason, we all think it would be better to obey the queen bee. And I'm happy to work here too, except for the queen bee, so I don't want to quit if possible. That's why I'm just holding out for now, I guess. However, if I ever lose control of my anger, I'm scared when I think about that. Stress is building up, so it's nice to have an opportunity to vent like this. If I want to vent again, I would be glad you listened to me. Thanks for your time today.
Participants in a forum seemed to be surprised by the attitude of the queen bee at Isabel's workplace. It's hard for a part-timer to deal with a problem that even the store manager can't solve. Will Isabel have to continue to endure this, or will the day come when the queen bee will regret it? Everyone was thinking about this, and after a while, Isabel seemed to come back to the forum.
Hey guys, it's been a while. Actually, there was an incident at the convenience store where I work. It's being resolved now, but it's something involving the queen bee. I wanted you guys to hear the interesting results. When I went to work at the convenience store as usual, there was some kind of commotion in the office. I looked into it to see what was going on, and the queen bee was shouting and making a noise. I just came to work, so I didn't feel good, and then I saw a girl, not even a part-timer, sitting in a chair. Apparently, the queen bee was raising her voice against the girl. I listened carefully, trying to hear their voices. She said to the girl, "I can't let my guard down because young people are tricky these days. Why don't you just come clean? You did it right. Your mother will be here soon, so tell me everything." From what she said, I understood that the girl had done something and the queen bee was angry because of it. In the meantime, it was getting close to time to work, so I went into the office to clock in. "Good morning." Just in case, I greeted the queen bee, and for some reason she grinned and started talking to me. "Ah, here you are. I've been waiting for you so long." So I asked her, "Well, really?" And the queen bee said, "Yes, you know what's going on. Your daughter shoplifted, so I'm calling the police." "What? My daughter?" I was surprised, and she kept talking. "How do you discipline your kid? She shoplifted, but she doesn't admit it at all. In fact, there were snacks in this girl's bag, though. Anyway, if you pay for these snacks on the girl's behalf." I was told and surprised, and then looked into the girl's face. I thought I had seen her somewhere before, but she was not my daughter. I rushed to explain it to the queen bee. "Well, you misunderstood something. I don't have a daughter," I told her. Then she said, "You can't lie. She may be a bad girl who shoplifts, but she's still your daughter. Or because her mother is mean, that's why she became delinquent and shoplifted." The queen bee told me like that and laughed so hard. I was so scared of her. I've been married for 15 years, and I really don't have a daughter. That's why I didn't get why she misunderstood and assumed that I have a daughter. I was so confused and looked at the girl, and she was crying. I talked to the girl to find out the facts anyway. "Hey, can you tell me again? Did you really shoplift?" I asked her, and she said no. I kept telling her, but she didn't believe me. "I want to go home. Please let me go." The queen bee heard her and raised her voice again. "It's too late now to tell a lie just because you got caught shoplifting and got scared. I can't let a shoplifter go without punishment. Are you in middle school, aren't you? If you do something wrong, you deserve to be caught by the police. Didn't your mother tell you that? But because you aren't educated properly, I guess you may be a victim in a way." As the queen bee said, if this girl really shoplifted, I thought she might be reported to the police. But she is still in middle school, so I thought it would make sense to contact her family first. "Why don't you call the police if you can't reach her family?" "Let's call her family first." I suggested that to the queen bee, then she laughed so hard again. "What are you talking about? Her parent is in front of me. Don't play dumb. You need to go with this girl to the police." The queen bee said to me like that. Like I said, I'm not her mother. I really don't have a daughter. I don't have any kids. You misunderstood me. But she kept saying, yeah, you're crazy. I'm gonna call the police right now so you can say the same thing. They'll find out sooner or later." Instead of listening to me, the queen bee completely assumed that the girl was my daughter. The girl was also confused, and she said, "She isn't my mother." She said that, but it made the queen bee more and more angry. The queen bee said, yeah, you guys should be quiet. If you don't admit your mother and daughter, let the police decide what to do. I can't believe both of you are lying." I thought the more I tell the queen bee, the more she gets upset. That's why I ignored her and talked to the girl. "I don't know if you shoplifted or not, so can I contact your parents anyway?" "Wouldn't you rather your parents come to you than the police out of the blue?" I asked her. "Yes, I know my parents' phone number, but I didn't really do anything." The girl said and told me her parents' phone number. The queen bee stopped me, but I made the call. I thought the queen bee would understand if I made it clear. I could talk to her parents, but they both seemed to take a long time to get here from their work, so we had to wait for a while. I felt sorry for the girl, but couldn't let her go. I got to work, and the queen bee had to keep an eye on her. I really wanted to watch the girl, but the queen bee wouldn't say yes. I worried that she was watching the girl, but something worse happened. To my surprise, a police officer came into the office a short time later. The queen bee had caught me off guard and called the police, and we ended up talking to the police officer before the girl's parents came to the office. The queen bee told the police officer, "This girl is the shoplifter, and she is her mother. They both are lying that they aren't mother and daughter, so I can't talk to them. Anyway, can you take them?" The queen bee was explaining the situation, which was very one-sided. However, I explained to the police officer in my own way. "I'm not sure whether this girl did shoplift or not, but I'm sure we are not mother and daughter. Her parents will be here soon since I called them." The police officer listened to each explanation and asked the queen bee, "What made you think she was the mother of this girl?" And the queen bee said, "The other day I saw them talking to each other in a friendly way, and they looked like mother and daughter. You usually wouldn't smile like that at a stranger. That's why they're certainly mother and daughter." As she said that, I finally remembered her. Why I thought I'd seen the girl seemed to remember me too. Ah, the key. Oh yeah, the key. I dropped my house key when I was riding my bike. She saw me drop it and chased after me and handed it to me. I surely talked to her a little at that time. I was relieved, so I might have even smiled. After hearing our explanation, the police officer was astounded by the queen bee, and she was blushing because of the facts. "What? So, you're not really mother and daughter?" she asked me. So I said, "No, I told you over and over. Her real parents will be here soon." As soon as she heard that, she stopped talking. Then the police officer said, "For now, let me see security cameras." He asked me like that. I immediately thought I'd do as he asked, but the queen bee didn't let me do it for some reason. She said, "I checked the security cameras, and they didn't capture that moment. But I caught her red-handed, so this girl was definitely shoplifting." But the police officer said, "I see, but I'll have to check it anyway." Then the queen bee turned very blue at this time. The reason for this was immediately apparent. Incredibly, the security camera had caught the queen bee putting snacks into the girl's bag. I found out this later. Just the other day when I was asked by the queen bee to switch shifts again, I firmly refused because I had some commitments. Then she held a grudge against me and tried to give me pain. She wanted to let me know that if I resist her, I will be hurt. When all the facts came to light, her mother and the store manager arrived at the store. The police officer explained the whole situation to them. The queen bee was swearing and pale. The police officer explained the whole situation to them. When all the facts came to light, her mother and the store manager arrived at the store. The queen bee was swearing and pale. The reason for this was immediately apparent. Incredibly, the security camera had caught the queen bee putting snacks into the girl's bag. I can't tolerate this kind of thing being done to everyone. Besides, if I let you stay, all the other part-timers might quit. I'm sorry, but this is a decision that needs to be made. The queen bee panicked and said, "Oh no, then I apologize. I'm sorry for doing this. It was supposed to be harassment to Isabel, but I was all wrong. I'll never do anything like this again," she said desperately. But the manager said, "Even you say so, I can't let you stay. It sets a bad example for this mother and daughter if I let it go. So don't come to work, please." "Ah, this is terrible," the queen bee said and started to cry. But no one felt sorry for her. The police officer was taken aback, and the girl's mother seemed to have noticed the craziness of the queen bee. They'd been very sympathetic towards me. The manager was adamant. I had no intention of taking the queen bee's side at all. So I kept my mouth shut and watched the whole thing unfold. The queen bee was successfully dismissed, and peaceful days have come to my workplace like never before. The other part-timers found out what had happened, and they worried about me and talked to me. They said, "We're glad you're okay, Isabel." I'm also relieved now. I'm glad the police officer listened carefully to what happened, and it also saved me that the evidence was caught on the security camera. I'm very happy to be working in a stress-free environment from now on. Later, the girl came into the store with her mother. I apologized to her and she said it was okay. Of course, she was scared, but I was glad she smiled at me when she saw me. Besides, she said something unexpected. The girl said, "The lady was a troublemaker, wasn't she? It's good she's gone." I was blown away by what she had said. The girl was smiling and so was her mother. The girl's strength really saved me too. So that's how we're gonna settle the case. By the way, the queen bee hasn't appeared since that day. The manager said to her, "If I find out the fact that you've been hanging around in front of the store or harassing the part-timers, then you'll have to go to the police this time." His word was enough to punish her. So now I feel safe and I can work. Thank you for listening to me to the end. I'm going to work hard without the queen bee.
Like Isabel told us, luckily she didn't get hurt by the queen bee. I'm sure the other part-timers were grateful for the queen bee's repression. The end of the story relieved the forum participants and they felt good as they thought of the queen bee's consequence. What would you do if you had to go through the same thing that Isabel went through this time?